The first problem of the universe. There would be no problem if God had preferred to remain alone in his abode, the unapproachable light, successfully and effortlessly keeping up his holiness in spite of the repeated efforts of the eternal darkness to enter him. But the problem arose when the eternal person decided to start creating persons who were non existent if the existing eternal entities had only continued to exist, and if no other non existent entities had been brought into existence, there would have been absolutely no problem whatsoever. But God decided to create. This was the root cause for all the problems in the universe and for the glorious new era that would inevitably follow. Let me tell you first what the problem was. We have seen that the eternal darkness was thirsty for self expression and was desperately trying to express itself by entering into the only existing and available person who was God. And we have seen that God was holy and perfect at this point, because he was maintaining his purity by pushing the darkness away by the strength of his holy will. Whenever the minds of true worshippers reach this point in time in the imaginations, they will be able to worship God and admire Him for His perfection and the beauty of His holiness. But what happens if new persons enter the scene? God is omniscient, He knows the future, but at this point, omniscience was not necessary. Any intelligent person could calculate and foresee the consequence with his common sense. The creature will always be weaker than the creator. That which is made will never be equal with the maker. The creator can't make a person as strong as himself. It may sound ungodly and blasphemous to say the creator can't make people as strong as himself. But if the creator should make someone as strong as himself, then he would be making another god. God creating another god is a contradiction of terms, because a person who is created by someone can't be God. The every term God means a person who was never made by anyone, the one who never had a beginning in his existence. Creating a God is impossible even for God, because the moment the person was created, he would become unworthy to be called God. There is an unbridgeable gap between the Creator and the creatures. All creatures are forever separated from the Creator because of the creaturehood. A potter can make any number of pots, but no pot can never be equal to the potter. No pot can become a potter. Similarly, all creatures that are going to be created by God will certainly be weaker than God. Now the eternal darkness was eternally thirsty. It was thirsty to express itself. It was desperately looking for a personality to enter it and get the satisfaction of expression. So far, there was only one person in the universe, and he was too strong for that darkness. The will of the eternal person to remain holy and pure was stronger than the will of the darkness to find self expression. So the darkness had to lose the battle repeatedly and remain unsatisfied. But as the creative activity of God was about to begin, and many new persons would come into existence, the eternal darkness would get innumerable new chances to acquire personality and find self expression. There was the first problem of this universe. It was inevitable that the eternal darkness would keep on trying for self expression and would relentlessly keep trying to enter every person created by God to express itself. What would happen if someone in the future gave up and allowed the darkness to come into him? Of course, we could always take precautions. God could have educated the persons he created about the impending danger of the darkness entering into them. Surely no child of God would prefer to allow the darkness into himself or herself and become an enemy of God. In all probability, the informed children of God would be careful not to allow that eternal darkness into them. But we can't be too sure about it. Maybe sometime in the remote future, there could be a possibility of a son of God who would allow the eternal darkness into himself and would surrender his God given personality to the darkness. It is, of course, a very remote possibility, but it can't be ruled out because no created child of God is as strong as God Himself. The eternal darkness might find its way into the personality of any child of God and would turn out to be a very powerful anti God personality. If that would really happen, the universe itself would be in a chaos, that every person would become an enemy whom even God would not be able to vanquish immediately. Even God would have to work for several ages to relinquish that enemy, so that the every idea of creating some persons involves great risk. God would be running into high risk by deciding to create some persons. Why then did God go ahead with his plan to create sons? Why create anybody at all?